So here's a $1,000,000 question. Why do men struggle so much with relationships? Well, there's obviously tons and tons of books written about relationships and men, and so I'd like to sort of interject my belief about why it's so difficult for us to have great relationships. And I actually use my own life as a perfect example. You see, I was married for 6.5 years, and then I went through a divorce, and I started asking myself some deeper questions about relationships because I just couldn't figure out how to make them work. And I remember a conversation that I had with a young lady, and in this conversation I was having somewhat of a pity party because I was telling her how, women said they wanted a good man, and I felt that I was a good man, but yet I couldn't find the right woman. And I talked about some of the past relationships that I had been in and why they didn't work. And so this person looked at me and she says, "Michael, don't take this the wrong way, but I think this is a powerful lesson for you." And she said this: "If one person calls you a jackass, you probably shouldn't worry about it. But if 2 or more do, you probably ought to get a saddle." And when she said that, I didn't get angry because it was the way she said it and who she was as a person that really got me to thinking about what she really said. Because she concluded by saying that, have you noticed that in all of your relationships, you're the only common denominator? And while you're pointing your finger at the women as though they're the problem, have you ever thought that maybe you're the problem? And I have to admit, that was a hard pill to swallow at first, but I really thought about it, and I said, she's absolutely right. So what can I do to create relationships that really work? And so it's amazing because I made a decision that I knew that even after my divorce, I knew that I wanted to be married again. But I also knew that I needed to look at myself to figure out what it was about Michael Taylor that was causing my relationships not to work. And so I made a commitment to create great relationships. And it has been an amazing 20-year journey of me discovering who I really am. But I can honestly say now that I've been happily married for the past 10 years. And I know that I have a relationship that really works for me, really nurtures me, and I'm really happy to be a part of it. And so in answer to the question that I posed at the beginning, why is it so difficult for men to create relationships that work? Let me share just a few lessons that I learned that helped me create my relationship that now works. The first thing that I learned, which again I think is the most important aspect of this, is in order for men to create great relationships, we must have a great relationship with ourselves. And I know a lot of men may not grasp that, but that is the ultimate goal. That is the ultimate challenge for men, is to develop a great relationship with ourselves. Because too many times as men, what we do is we buy into society's version of who we should be. And so we bust our butts to try to get the house, the wife, the 2.5 kids and all of that. And then there's something missing and we don't know what that something missing is. And then we have to be willing to really look within ourselves to figure out what's going on in our lives. And so the key to creating great relationships for men and women actually is to, first of all, discover the things about you that are keeping you from creating great relationships. Because it's easy to point finger at the people in our lives. I know I did it for years. But it isn't until we look within our own hearts, our own minds, to figure out what it is that's keeping us from connecting with others, then we'll never create a great relationship. So I think first and foremost, that's the first thing we have to do. We have to be willing to create a great relationship with ourselves. So it may be uncomfortable for men to say this, but we must fall in love with ourselves. And that's not narcissistic or arrogant. That's about coming to an understanding of who you are as a man, as a human being, and being completely happy with who you are. Because when you do that, now you have a happy, whole person that you can now share with someone else. Because you can never feel complete with someone until you can feel complete without them. And so as men, we have to learn how to feel complete within ourselves. And I think that's probably one of our greatest challenges as men. So that's the first thing we have to do to create great relationships, in my opinion. The second thing we have to do is figure out what it is that we're really looking for. You know, because I have to admit that when I got married the first time, I was on this societal roller coaster, and I was doing everything society says I was supposed to do in order to be happy. And so I got the job, and then the next thing I thought I was supposed to do was get the wife. And to be completely honest, that's what I did. I got the wife without knowing what I was really looking for in a person. I just got married because I thought that was what I was supposed to do. And boy, that sets us up for bad relationships. So we have to be willing to know what it is exactly we're looking for in relationships. You know, it amazes me that as men, some of us will spend an amazing amount of time figuring out what's the best TV to buy. We'll go out and we'll do research and we'll figure out what's the best television that we should have. And we spend a lot of time and energy in doing that. But we don't do the same thing for relationships. We don't ask ourselves, what is it that I really need from a woman? What are the values that I'm looking for in a woman? We basically have one criteria. And that criteria is, how fine is she? And that's the truth. And I know that may sound like I'm making all men seem shallow, which isn't the truth. But the bottom line is, most of us, or shall I say, a lot of us as men, that's the criteria we use, is how does she look on the outside? But we have to be willing to know how she is on the inside if we truly want to create relationships that work. And the last thing I think that we have to do in order to create great relationships is we have to recognize how our societal, cultural, and family conditioning affects how we pick women in our lives. You see, all of the things that we do, all the things we go through in life, you know, they create certain belief systems in our mind about what's real and what's not. And so as we look at television and we see these perfect 10 bodies and we think, wow, that's what I need to make me happy. So when we buy into the media's version of what's going to make us happy and how relationships are supposed to work, it's a recipe for failure because it doesn't work that way. And so some of us have these over-romanticized views of what relationships are supposed to be like. And then we wonder why once we get in them, they're nothing like we dreamed they would be. And the reason is because we haven't really looked at our inner essence, who we are as men, to know what we're really looking for and not be affected by the societal conditioning. And this is a challenge for most men. And so these are just some things that I've learned over the last 15 years about creating great relationships. And what I want to do is I'm creating a resource for any man who's committed to living what I'll call an extraordinary life and who's wanting to become genuinely happy with their lives. So that is the intention of A New Conversation with Men and CoachMichaelTaylor.com. So what I'll be posting is a series of different videos. And I want to get your opinion and feedback on some of the things that I'll be sharing, because it's really time for us as men to come together to support each other and empower each other. And so your feedback can help empower me to create more material, but it'll also give you an opportunity to share your thoughts and feelings on the issues that I'm bringing, the issues that I'm raising, because what I can assure you is that the content on this website is designed to educate, motivate, and inspire. That is my intention. That is my commitment. And so what I'm going to be doing is sharing a series of dialogues and conversations to support you in becoming the best you possible. So just look below, post your comment. I'll be glad to hear what you have to say. And again, it's just going to be a series of dialogues. It's not just a quick get-rich scheme or instant fix type thing. It's about educating yourself to become the best you possible. So I'm really glad you've taken the time to listen to this video, and be sure and post your comments. And if you're really moved and resonate with this message, then why don't you sign up for our newsletter. Just put your email address in the top left corner there, and we'll be glad to send you information to let you know what's going on at A New Conversation with Men. I appreciate you watching. Take care.